Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. Today is 2020, August 7th, Friday, 12:30 p.m. San Francisco time. And today we are going to talk about Emacs and Emacs Lisp. I'm going to do a live coding of a Emacs command. And then we are going to, after that, we might talk random about Emacs related stuff, Emacs community or whatever, or a demo of Xah keys, a live demo, or let's use Xah keys to do a Vim golf. We haven't done that for a while, and or we go to talk about keyboards. My keyboard blog, lots of interesting things to talk about. And you guys, okay, you guys type in the comments, okay, questions or chat, type in the comments. Good morning, Renato. Trying out Xah keys right now. Fantastic. Any questions, comments, just post it, okay? So here is my Emacs window showing browser. So here is today's kind of talk show page. Go back to Emacs, and on the right window you can see the pink window is all my Emacs commands. As I move cursor, you can see the commands call. You can see the command name and the keystroke I'm using. I'm using Xah keys, of course, and I'm using Vorak keyboard layout. So if there's any command you don't know, you can look up the command name on the right window. Then you can look up on the web. Most likely it's on my web with the source code. Okay, so let me show you what we're gonna do today. Okay, so we're gonna do a YouTube command. Let's go to YouTube. YouTube Emacs. Okay, let's search YouTube Emacs. Let's see what we find. Okay, Emacs tutorial. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Oh, actually, let's go to Abraham. Okay, let me show you this. Okay, there is this guy I know who is a Emacs and Emacs Lisp expert. So I like to show his video. Wait, is my voice coming through fine? Right? I'm doing fine. I'm alive and kicking, right? Good morning, Alan. Good morning, Zhe. Okay, so yeah, okay, so let's find okay, I need to show this Alan stuff. So Alan drew this picture. This is Reaper. Folding table with moving casters. You know why? Because my favorite computer desk is actually a folding table like that. That is actually my favorite computer desk. Why? Because that is the Borg style. The Star Trek Borg technology. The most pure functionality without no decorations, no nothing. Pure functionality. Study. This is the latest research. I mean, this is a fruit of science. The most study and easy to make and durable, and you can lie, you can sit on this desk, and it's foldable, and it's fantastic. It's the most functional stuff. My style. So anyway, that's my favorite desk, and of course there's also standing desk. Actually, I never used, rather I never had the opportunity to use, but that's something I would like to use. If I have, maybe I'll set up, possibly, I don't know, set up a standing desk. And if you use standing desk, there is this thing called wobble board, which is fantastic. Do you know why? Because when I was a teenager, from 16 to 18, I was working in a bagel shop, bagels, making bread. And you stand there, roll the door all day for 10 hours a day, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. That's truly the most laborious job. And, I was doing that as a illegal immigrant in Canada, and taking some minimal amount of money. But the problem is that you stand there, for 8 hours a day. You'll notice after a while your legs get tired. It's not just your legs get tired. There's a posture thing. It's just like sitting. If you sit for too long, for 3 hours, 4 hours a day, you'll notice back problems, those sort of problems. So you want standing desk, but even, I mean, if you stand for too long, you also have problems, So you usually, when you do a standing, you want to prop one of your legs, on a foot box or something like that. Usually, like, the bar stool. You go to a bar where there's a bar underneath for you to put your foot on. That is a good thing, because you want to do that, and you want to move around, shift around. So there is this wobble board you can buy on Amazon. Okay, so you guys go there, buy it now. Let's demonstrate the power of my Emacs operation. You go buy and help the economy. Paste, okay, the best computer desk. So Alan says skeletal sliding. Indeed, if you sit too long, you'll be butt hurt. Exactly. Okay, so that's computer desk. So let's begin. Let's start to do the okay, hold on a second. Let me put that in my talk show page. Okay, go to talk show, show in browser, go back, magnify, and talk. Okay, today's talk show, magnify, show in browser, good. Magnify, switch back to Emacs or single key operations. Okay, let's put the link here. So that's today's topic. Then show in browser. So best computer desk, we talked about that. Let's get on to Emacs and Emacs Lisp. Modify Xah HTML youtube-linkify. Okay, let me show you what's going on. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. I was thinking about building my own desk table with adjustable height by manually spinning a wheel. Yeah, that's a good. Hey, good morning, Emily. Like a help, Another interesting thing is that, let me ramble a little bit. The touch screen. The touch screen is the bane of user interface. The touch screen, popularized by Steve Jobs of Apple. But Steve Jobs, however, is a genius. Genius at marketing. He know what to do. But however, touch screen is not a great user interface. You want physical knobs and wheels and sliders. Okay, you want like. I can show you lots of things, but anyway. So look, so this is U.S. Navy warships. You see it's got a touch screen, and with this user interface, they got into an accident. Some merchant ship ran into them because of the touch screen fuck. So after this accident, the U.S. Navy did research, and they realized, the touch screen is no good. So they went back. They decreed all ships must use the back good old physical controls, 1,000 knobs and wheels, like a cockpit, like a space shuttle. And then you see this NASA thing. I mean, not NASA, the SpaceX. They started to use touch screen user interface, which is disaster in the waiting. Shut up. The astronaut is actually saying, when you use the old wheel, and when you look at the cockpit of a space shuttle, you see 1,000 knobs and wheels. That is actually good, because you want to control something, you can exactly where it is, and you can touch it. Muscle memory. But with touch screen, you have to think. You have to look at the screen. Oh, press this button, change the screen to this control, and press and touch that. It's no good. So the astronaut actually tells you that with touch screen, you have to it's more you have to think. So it's accident in the waiting. Okay. So imagine the future, like Star Trek. In Star Trek, it's all touch screen. You see, because we imagine that's the best. But so imagine, let's say 10 or 20 years from now, our space shuttles, spaceships. What will they actually use touch screen user interface as primary? I doubt it. Okay, I doubt it because it's no good. So anyway, that's about touch screen. I can show you actually a lot of photos about the physical control. Let's get back to Emacs. Okay, comments and questions, post it. So touchscreen with adjustable height. Okay, so let's get back to Emacs and let's talk about what are we going to do. Emacs Lisp coding. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Yeah, so let's go to this guy. Okay, before we do that, let's go to keyboard blog. Okay, keyboard blog, go there and go to Ergo keyboards. Okay, fantastic keyboards. Then we go to the foot pedal, Kinesis foot pedal, which I have down there. I did a video on that. Then there is this guy by this Emacs expert. Okay, I think I have a link. There it is. Howard Abraham. Okay, he wrote a review on that. He is a Emacs expert. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna YouTube search Emacs Howard Abraham because he's done great Emacs tutorials. So let's go to his YouTube channel. Okay, let's see introduction to eShell. Okay, let's see intro. Okay, so let's introduction to eShell. Okay, so here's his YouTube video tutorial on Emacs eShell. Okay, now I'm a blogger, so I want to embed his video in my blog. So what I do, I press a key to copy the URL, switch back to Emacs. Okay, switch back to Emacs anyway. Okay, then I post it here. Let's go to my talk show page. Okay, you see now the link is here, is there. Now I want to show in browser. You see that's a link. That's no good. You want the embed code. So I press a key. Actually, I can press a key, then show in browser. There it is. Okay, back to Emacs. Undo. So here it is. Okay, so what the command I just called is youtube-linkify. Okay, Xah HTML youtube-linkify. That will turn a YouTube link into this my format of iframe. This is the heart of it. Okay, but I also have figure and figure captions, so I can say, for example, this is a great tutorial on eShell, Emacs eShell by Howard. Okay, so show in browser. That's fantastic. Now, if you are like me, a blogger, you want to you need to do this often. So you can just copy a URL, any URL, copy it, and just do it here, in your blog. Press a key, and it becomes that. Okay, so let me show you what's the other thing. Okay, so when you copy a URL, you see there URL, it's of this format. But when you change it to embedded YouTube video, it's actually iframe, and the iframe uses this URL, which is different from the other. Let me magnify. Okay, so you see this is original, and this is the embed URL. So what I want to do is I want my command to be able to work on this embed URL as well. If I do it now, it won't work. Let me show you. Okay, so for example, this is stupid emacs bug. Okay, for example, this is original URL. I press a key, it becomes that, which is good. Now this is the embed URL. I press a key, it doesn't work. Well, it becomes a link. Let me show you. Okay. You see, it becomes a link here. That's not what we want. So go back, undo. So I want my command to be able to work on this embed URL code. So that's what I want to modify today. So before we do that, let's show you the command. Let me go over the command, how it works. Okay, so because this is going to be a Emacs Lisp tutorial. So you go to the source code Xah HTML mod, and so here is the source code. Okay, it's not too long. Okay, so wait. So here is the line. So here is the code. It's not too long. Okay, so but let's copy it. Let's copy it, create a new buffer, paste it, save it, XX. Let's save it as the command name. Save it, that, and today's date, and .el. Okay, then magnify. So here's the code. So it says the line can be, so here's the documentation. So it says the line can be any of, this is a normal YouTube URL, and it can also be the URL, I mean the YouTube ID. For YouTube, every video has an ID, which is part of the URL here. You see, that's the ID. And then it also can be this format. You know why YouTube changes every year. So you know, normally when you want to do embed, you click on this share button. Annoying user interface. Then you can share to Facebook. You know, you click on Facebook, it goes to Facebook. The share, you know, this social networking crap. Anyway, so this is the, so if you just click here, it gives you this URL, which is different from the URL of the original website. For example, let me paste it here. Let's undo. Okay, so you see, so this is original URL, and this is the URL if you click on the share, and this is the URL if you click on, if you want to embed it. Like for example, you click share, then you click on embed. You see, then YouTube gives you this crap, this bunch of, let me show you. Okay, that's what YouTube gives you. You know, frame border is, you know, old HTML. So allow, accelerometer, autoplay, encrypted media, gyroscope, picture in picture, crap. Anyway, so I just want standard, you know, HTML, no nothing fancy. So this is what I want. So in order to write this command, you know, first of all, you study all these YouTube formats. But let's go to our code. So anyway, so here's our code. So it turns, you know, any one of these URL into this iframe and figure stuff. Okay, so I guess let me explain the code. I guess either I explain the code, or I start to code and modify it. Okay, so let's look at the comments. What you guys saying? So Paul says never. Have been looking into kneeling chair. Oh, kneeling chair, no good. Okay, I can tell you about kneeling chairs. Paul Edward. Let's digress a little bit. Okay, this digression is more fun. Xah Lee, kneeling chair, because I'm very much into these strange chairs, ergonomic chairs. but kneeling chair is no good. Okay, but because well, okay, it's on one of my page. It's on xah.org. I'm not sure I want to show it. But anyway, there's this kneeling chair. Okay, which I actually bought in 1996. Okay, these are kneeling chairs. Okay, I got them around 1997, and I used it for a year. So I thought this is a great, ergonomic science chair. After using it for a year, it's not that good. When you sit on this chair, you have the issue of your, it's these kneeling chairs, this California thing, bare feet and stuff. So, but when you sit on it, a normal chair, you have this back support. Okay, so you can lie on it. Wait. So you see, I can. There's the, you can lie on it. But with kneeling chair, you don't have that. So it's like a tree. You have this issue of like you constantly have to unconsciously. It's not so good. Also, when I sit on it, I remember you have the feel of falling down, like a tree topples. On a normal chair, you don't have to worry about that. But with this leaning chair, because your feet, your legs is all tied up. It's kind of tied up with that the way you sit. So you cannot readily move your legs out to either stand up or something. So you have you won't actually fall down, but you kind of feel like that because it's like your feet is bound and you have the top moving. So I didn't like it so much. The idea seems good, but I didn't like it. So that's about kneeling chair. Okay, so Emmanuel Torres says if you right click on the video, you can press copy embed code. Okay, in the context menu, I noticed that there are more options. Okay. Do you not put them intentionally? Yeah, you can do that, but it's not good. If you are a blogger, if you are using Emacs, of course you can get the embed code. Right click, copy video URL, copy URL, copy embed code. You can do like that, or you can click on the share, but too much mouse clicks. You don't want that. So what you want is you just use the standard shortcut keys. Control L to move your cursor to the URL field, and Control C. Then you have it copied. Then switch to Emacs. Then you can paste it. You see, close, undo. Or I have a shortcut. I just press a single key. One single key. It's already copied. I go back to Emacs and I can copy it. So once you have it in Emacs, you have it in Emacs. It's magnified. Then you just press a key. It becomes what you want. Then you can start to type. So that's more efficient. That's the advantage of Emacs. Okay, so let's look at the code. Okay, let's start to look at the code. And what should we do? We want to, let me go over the code then. Okay, let me go over the code. So the code, what the code will do is that, let me go back to, you see, the code, basically what the code will need to do is that you will grab the text under the cursor. The user put the cursor somewhere in the URL. Grab the text under the cursor, so you actually get the input. That's the input you want to transform. So you want to grab that text under cursor, then you want to kind of parse the text. For example, you want to find out which part is the video ID, which is this part. Once you got the video ID, everything is easy. Then you just want to insert. You want to insert iframe tag. Iframe. Let's just do this iframe. You insert the iframe tag, then source equals to something. So once you pass and get the ID, everything is easier. You just insert whatever you want. Okay, so that's the core of this command. That's what this command needs to do. So let's look at what the command actually does. Okay, so Xah youtube-linkify. So that's a command. And okay, so let a bunch of we declare a bunch of variables. Okay, P1, P2 is position 1 and position 2. That's the beginning and end of the URL. Okay, the input string is the URL that you grab. Okay, and this ID is the YouTube video ID. Okay, YouTube link chars. Okay, so these are the characters in the YouTube URL link that you want to skip, something like that. Okay, skip char. Let's go over quickly. Skip chars backward. So you are skipping. So you are moving the cursor and skipping these characters. Then, okay. So first of all, what are we doing here is actually we are trying to find out the beginning and end position of the YouTube URL. So that's what this code does. So we skip character backward in the URL. Okay, and what? And this part actually we can ignore. The skip char backward. Let me explain what it does. Okay, so you can do describe function to read the documentation of this skip char backward command. So skip char backward, it takes a string. Basically, so just like that, here over here it takes a string, and what the string is, the string function as a regular expression. So you are telling Emacs to skip character, to move the cursor backward and skip all these characters. So you skip the dash, underscore, question mark, period, colon, slash, and equal sign, and ampersand sign. And you also skip capital A to Z, lowercase a to Z, and 0 to 9. You see, these are kind of regular expression syntax. So it's kind of a mixture of regular expression syntax. It's like the regular expression square brackets inside it. So you skip those characters. So basically what we want is go to the beginning of actually another way, simpler way to do this is just call the thing at point command. We can do this thing at point file name, but we explained thing at point yesterday. So anyway, so let's go with this. Okay, skip. So you move the cursor backward to the beginning, basically beginning of the URL. Then you set it to P1, position 1. Okay, then you move character forward again. Then you set the point to P2. So you got the beginning and end position of the URL. The URL, by the way, could be inside a sentence. Could be inside a sentence. Okay, like that, and something. Usually it's not. So that's P1 and P2. Then you use buffer string no properties and give 2 positions. That grabs the text underneath it. Then you save it to input string. Then okay, so the input string is the actual URL. Then you try to extract the ID from the input string. Okay, that's how you do it. So you try to extract the ID by condition. Okay, the condition. So let me show you the ID. Okay, so for example, okay, for example, this is the URL, right? This is the original URL, and let's put it here so you can see. So given a URL like that, you want to extract the ID, which is the v equals to something. So we can see if string match v equals to 11 characters. So if you actually found a pattern like that, then those 11 characters are the ID. So you see, then match string equals to, so we captured it, so that's the ID. But otherwise we do this second test. So if the string is actually youtube.b, okay, that's the other. Let me go back to the, you see, this is the second possible URL from YouTube. So let's switch back. Let's paste it here. Okay, so let's paste it to kind of document. So if the URL is like that, then we do that. Okay, so but if the URL is like that, then we do that. We get the ID. The ID is right after the domain name. Okay, then otherwise, when you use condition in Emacs Lisp, condition, you usually want to give the last condition, which is true. That is always true. That means if it doesn't match any of the above, then just do this. So it just says error, cannot find the YouTube video. So we want to actually modify this part. So because you see, here is the alternative URL. So let's copy that, go back to the Lisp code. So we want to add another condition. Okay, and string match. Okay, so if the string match, let's copy that. If the string match that embed, okay, actually let's copy this part. Okay, so because it's similar. So if the string match that, okay, this is fantastic. If the string match, it contains an embed, then whatever the ID characters, 11 characters, then what we do is if the string match, then we do just like that here, match string. Okay, prettify. So you see, so here is our code. So if the string match embed something, then we get the ID. Okay, then otherwise error. Okay, cannot find the YouTube video ID in URL. Okay, so once you get the ID of the URL of the YouTube video, then you delete region. Okay, then you insert, then you start to insert, your iframe thing here. Okay, I think that's it. That's what we want to do. You just, this here is easy to understand. You just insert a bunch of things, and the ID is right here, the YouTube ID. You see here, you see the ID is right there, the YouTube video ID. Okay, so now we run the code. So eval buffer, we have our code, and go back to our HTML. We're gonna try on this URL. Before it doesn't work, now it should work. Okay, call meta-x Xah youtube-linkify. Oops, cannot find the YouTube video ID in URL. What is going on? Let's go back to the code. Eval buffer, let's make sure we eval buffer again. Okay, eval buffer. 11 characters, right? Oh, okay, so wait, let's just do, so you see, we are trying to match the pattern A to Z, capital or lowercase, and 0 to 9. But however, you see the ID actually sometimes contain underscore. So that's not what we want. We want to delete this part and just say a character. Okay, any character, 11 of them. And actually this part is also wrong. So let's just copy that, put a dot. Okay, eval buffer, go back to our code. Let's try it on here. Let's try it. MetaX, Xah HTML, youtube-linkify. Yeah, fantastic. You have to escape the dot. You don't have to escape the dot because a dot in regular expression means any character. Okay, any character. If you escape it, then that means a literal dot. We don't want that. So actually it works. That's actually what we want to do. So let's you see, it works on that URL, works on that URL, and it all works. So show in browser, you can see we have several copies of the same thing. That's all good. So we done with our job today. Let's show it, delete it, show it. Okay, so you might go out, check out Howard Abraham's tutorial on eShell. I'm pretty sure it's fantastic. If you haven't used eShell is fantastic. Okay, I use it. I started to use Emacs since 1998. Basically, I live in Emacs beginning in 1998, and for the first 10 years, more than 10 years, I don't use eShell. I use this shell, this inferior shell, they call it. For example, let's do ls. You can see, and on the top it's eShell ls. So what's the difference? I have an article. So you go to my Emacs tutorial. I'm going to my Emacs blog. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so here's my Emacs blog showing browser. You go to my Emacs tutorial and go down. On the left, you will see shell. Okay, let's search for it. Shell. Okay, so run shell in Emacs. Why run shell in Emacs? I explained. Some people, they do things in terminal. So for example, wait, I don't want to do ls. Oops. Let's cd. Okay, so in terminal, let's see, magnify. So here is your standard terminal, and some people say, let's say web ergo Emacs. I'm in my Emacs directory, and go to Emacs. Okay, then we can do ls. A bunch of big ls. Bunch of but Emacs is superior. Okay, if you most of the time you want to do shell commands in Emacs because you have much more control. And then, but then Emacs have multiple variations on shell. Okay, let me show you. Where is it? Article shell. Wait, shell. Okay, so you have run shell in Emacs. That's an introduction. Why run shell in Emacs? Okay, and eShell. That's another option. And shell versus term versus eShell. Emacs has 3 shells, more than 3, 4. But actually 2 of them are merged together. Anyway, so shell is much more better. Okay, so you have shell, you have eShell, and eShell is great. Okay, I started to use eShell around 2014 or something like that. So I've been using the traditional shell for more than 10 years. Then I switched to eShell basically. And there's also term emulator. Term emulate. If you MetaX term, that gets you ANSI term. Okay, so here are different, several different shells you can run in Emacs. So I explain the differences. And in fact, if you run term, that means inside Emacs you can run Vim, you can run VI, you can run SSH, you can start Nano. Okay, actually someone Let's go back. Let's go to my Emacs blog. Let me show you these interesting things. Somewhat in Emacs. Let me show. Okay, copy. So this guy is who is this guy? This guy is DXLR88R. Okay, so view image. This guy uses Emacs Xah keys and runs terminal. Okay, Emacs terminal emulator. Then he started Nano text editor. so so in fact you can inside Emacs eShell or term you can start another Emacs instance and you can start term again and start another Emacs instance. I've done that like 20 years ago. So anyway, eShell. So you might check out eShell. eShell, why eShell? eShell is a shell that's written entirely in Emacs Lisp. Yeah, so eShell, the advantage of eShell, one of the advantages is written entirely in Emacs Lisp, and it's faster. Okay, it's faster. On the other hand, if you run term or the shell, MetaX shell, they actually start a shell, a bash, and interface that with Emacs. Yeah, but so one of the great useful situation for eShell is that when you are on Windows, you don't have bash, but you are used to bash. You want to run ls and Unix commands, so you can just run eShell. eShell has built-in emulators for those commands. So close, kill it, yes. Okay, kill it, show in browser, Xah Talk Show. So you might check out Abraham's tutorial on eShell. Okay, that's the main thing for today. Then we talk about random. Depends on what you guys want to talk about. Let me see how long have I been talking, and let me read the comments. Oh, we already been talking for 45 minutes. Okay, that's so we might shut down soon. So let's see the comments and let's chat. Asking about not putting the extra options like picture in picture. Oh, okay. So okay. Scott, hey, good morning, Scott. Scott is the expert on C and low-level programming on CPU and GPU. So Scott says, are you using $ for variable names in Emacs Lisp? Yes. Interesting. Almost feels like a former Perl guy writing Emacs Lisp. Yeah. I get that question often. But let me tell you, okay, let me copy the code. Let me show you this, let me demo this feature I have in Xah HTML mod. Okay, so here's our today's code. I copy it. In fact, okay, so wait, what I want to do, okay, I want to modify the comments to, okay, because we added a feature. So copy that, go back to comment, so add a feature. Okay, but this command actually, okay, let's modify it so it works on the ID. I think I had the code that works on that, but I think I deleted a while back. So okay, let me show you. Okay, so let's copy the ID. Now I don't know what YouTube URL is that. I hope it's open in Chrome. Okay, let's see what video is this. Hope that's something okay. Okay, that's that's a YouTube comedian. That's a very funny guy, and his name is Fat Francis. He has a very touching and interesting history. If you go watch that YouTube URL, okay, it's a very sad, kind of sad history. Anyway, so let's change the URL to something. Let's change the Abraham. Let's use this URL. Okay, so let's modify this. copy. Okay, so that's the URL name. I'm modifying the inline doc. So now it's more relevant because we are using a emacs video as a example. So if we copy the ID, go back to my HTML page, paste the ID, let's call our command to see if it works. Xah HTML-linkify. It doesn't work because I think I removed the code. So but we want to make it work. So let's go back to our code. Let's make it work. Let's make it work on that, just the ID. So condition, we're gonna need to add another condition to check this. Copy the code. Okay. So the condition, so this time the condition will be length. Okay. So if the length of input string is equals to 3 and 3, let's run it. Yeah, okay. So let's paste it here. 11. So if the length of the input string is 11 characters exactly, then that is the ID. Okay. So then we say, then we just return the input string. We return that, then we set it here, right? So okay, evaluate the buffer, go back to the HTML, let's try our code on it. Fantastic, works. Okay, now go back to the code. Now Scott was saying, you know, I'm using a $sign. That's just for my personal reasons. You don't have to. Okay, you can remove the $sign. But if you use a $sign, you have the advantage they become green colored because I'm using Xah emacs lisp mod, my own emacs lisp mod. So you don't have to use the $sign. Okay. But I have a great, history about why I use $sign. Let's talk about that. Okay, you go to Emacs blog, and it's, you go to, let me show you. It's one of the frequently answered, asked question, and it's a huge controversy, because for like 5 years I have been using not actually just $sign. I've been using Greek symbols. Okay, let me show you. That is like one of my weird thing, and people complain. These Emacs Lisp phonetics. Some of them don't like me because I'm too weird. Okay, so for example, what I've been doing. Wait. Okay, so magnify. I used to use the Greek sign. Okay, like phi. Okay, let me show you. Okay, so instead of $ID, I would say phi ID. Okay, and that confuses a lot of people. But why do I use this weird thing? So on all my website, all my code, I was doing that because I believe that is actually superior. That is, for source code, as a programmer, you want to. We have concerns about how to code. What's the best way to code something? The elegance or efficiency or shortest number of code, or the naming of things. Naming of things is a great, big, giant controversy. Should you use underscore or should you use dash or should you, camel case versus, this or that underscore, snake case, Python people. Big controversy. So I studied that issue. I've read all articles there is and research articles on that. In fact, I have so many articles. Xah Li snake case. Okay, let me show you. Okay, snake case versus camel case. Okay, you go search that. You call a command, and you'll search Google. Actually not Google, but DuckDuckGo. Okay, so I have an article on that. Camel case versus snake case, which is better? What do you mean by better? There's so much details. Which languages uses which? The naming, their naming style, or idiom, or the style, which recommend which one is better. What do you mean by better? And you measure by statistics how many code, what they use, and why is it better. There's so much details. And also you study the character frequency. If you dive deep into this, you will start wait, what the fuck, it's not working. Oh yeah, you have to say yeah, okay. So okay, if you start to study this issue in depth, and one of the things you want to know is the frequency of the various symbols used in programming languages, such as the $, comma, semicolon, percentage sign, dash, underscore, and so on. So actually I wrote this JavaScript to compute that, and I've done statistics on all languages, what characters they use the most often. So anyway, that's one of the things you want to study. Let's go back to let's copy some of my URL. So let's go to the talk show so I can put it there. Digressions, interesting things. Xah Talk Show. Okay, so let's put some of the here. So and wait, what's the did I close it? Camel case versus anyway. I forgot where that is. Okay, here's the URL. Copy back to Emacs, paste it, linkify. So back in my talk show page showing browser, so I have a reference to it, so I can put in the YouTube description for the topic talked today. So yeah, so I was studying this issue, and I decided that you want to use the Greek characters as a sigil. Now the technical term to call that symbol is called sigil. Sigil is the term is invented by Perl people. Perl people is always colorful. They their language, they use that. Then they started to call, after a few years, after about 5 years, they created a name for that, sigil. And I have a great story. So let's go back to my Emacs page. Okay, let me tell you. So you go to my Emacs blog, you go to the Emacs miscellaneous. Okay, I have some past videos on how to why Emacs Lisp sucks. Okay, then you just search for sigil, S-I-G-I-L, the sigils war. For 5 or more than 5 years, I was using the Greek characters, and that's how my buffer looks. The variable names are highlighted. What? So the question is, why do I want that? Why do I want that sigil? Well, the reason is, okay, there are many ways to explain it. The reason is that you want to be able to distinguish local variables and parameters of the function. Okay, that's a primary reason I want to do that. I want to be able to quickly discern them. And okay, further, more advanced reason for that is that this gets deeper. Okay, so anyway, this article I talked about sigil war. Then I have a lot of articles about my complete reasons why I want to use the sigil. Okay, for example, sigil for function parameter names. Okay, then there's another article. I have quite a few articles here. This one, why I want to use sigil. Variable naming, English words considered harmful. Okay, so it's a big topic. I can go on 1 hour about it. So I have several articles. This is in this article I explain why do you want sigils? Okay, why do you want sigils? Then in this article, I explain one of the primary reason why I want to distinguish functions parameter names from local variable names by a glance. Okay. Then the more advanced question is that this gets deeper because when you talk to Haskell people, those functional programming nerds, the fanatics, they keep they it's very fashionable. They keep wanting to talk about static analysis. If you know what I mean, static analysis, where a source code, you can analyze what the source code do without actually running it. So there is huge number of advantages for that property, and usually this is associated with static types. The main goal is to reduce programming errors. So imagine you don't have to run your program, but however you can just run another program to check on it, and you can know all possible errors without actually running your program. Theoretically, that's actually impossible due to that's impossible. There's a name for that. It's called what's the name? The tuning something. Basically it's impossible to check if a program will stop running. There's a name for that. I forgot. Some of you probably know. Type it. Okay, type it. We are about to end. Let me finish the ramble. So anyway, it gets into theoretical questions, okay? But so it's impossible to have 100% static typing. I mean static analysis to be able to find all your errors. But however, Haskell, those strongly typed languages, they have those features. NP complete. Well, yeah, not. That's NP complete. That's the halting problem. Okay, yeah, halting problem is the term I was looking for. If you may already know, but if you look up Wikipedia, you'll know what I'm talking about. Halting problem. So it's theoretically impossible actually to have a static analysis, to have a programming language such that you can run a static analyzer such that you can know all possible errors without actually running the program. It's impossible. And there's a theory to back up that, which is halting problem. So anyway, but still, a lot of errors you can find out by static analysis. That's why the strongly typed languages, they love that. They love that, Haskell people. Okay, so Haskell people love that. So in order to do that, you have to have strongly typed languages. But if you go one step further, you have, why not? Let me tell you the story, okay, about this naming issue. Why not enforce a situation in your language so that all local variables must start with a $sign, let's say. Okay. By the way, $sign is used in Perl. It's also used in Ruby. Okay. And in fact, Ruby is more strict. Ruby, if your variable start with a $sign, then it is absolutely a local variable, cannot be otherwise. Okay. So there's an enforcement in Ruby. Ruby has a few other conventions. So you see, this has to do with static analysis. It helps. So whenever you see a variable name start with a $sign, then it's a local variable, and your static analyzer also know that, and your compiler will also know that. It helps a lot. But also as a programmer, when you code it, you see a $sign there, you right away what that's a local variable. Okay, that's one of the advantage. And Ruby and Scheme Lisp has other advantage. For example, if a function ends with a question mark in Ruby and in Scheme Lisp, if a function name ends with a question mark, then for sure that function will always return a Boolean. Okay, true or false, for sure. Because that's I don't think that's actually enforced in Ruby or Scheme. But anyway, they have that convention. Okay, so first of all, you have a convention. There's another issue whether the language actually enforce it. Okay, so there are these issues about naming. Okay, so if you actually enforce it in your language, there are certain advantages. The compiler, the static analyzer will know, and will help your program. And also as a programmer, it's you can tell by a glance lots of properties of your code. So what I want, so that's where my sigil idea come in. I want sigils. Okay, 20 years ago when I was a Perl programmer, I was I was the expert of Perl. I coded not like today. Back then I worked in a company for 4 years, writing one of the first backend e-store, online store. This is 1999 to 2002. Natopia. I worked. The one of the first. The backbone, the engine of online web store that's sold to Verizon and others. Then they run the web store, so merchant can open a web store like Yahoo store, like Amazon. Okay, so I was working industry coding that. I was a top Perl expert back then. So back then when I saw Perl is I hated Perl and the sigils fuck. But anyway, but a few years ago, I started to realize sigil is actually a good thing. So I want all my code, So when you see a variable with a $sign, then you know that you must enforce that to be a local variable. And similarly, you also, I want also a sigil for the parameter of a functions variable. So when you see that, it's absolutely a functions variable, and you cannot change it. A language, let's say a new language, you could enforce that so that a function's parameter is not mutable and must have a sigil. So all this has to do with static analyzer, and if your philosophy approves that, if you think this is a way to go. So apparently a lot of people do, like the Haskell people. So that is the reason for my use of sigils. Then there's a question about which character you want to use for sigil. For example, you can use $sign, %sign, or pound sign, or the @ sign. A number of choices, ASCII. But today we have Unicode. Let's make use of Unicode. Let's be progressive, okay? In the design of things, let's go progressive. Let's use Unicode. Unicode have 100,000 characters. So I choose, after careful study, I choose the Greek lisp character. There are lots of reasons in choosing them, but I'm not going to go over them. Some of these I detail some of the reasons. Okay. So that is why I use sigils. So for 5 years, all my Emacs code, I have sigils. Then the Emacs community, the traditional Emacs, GNU Emacs, they're Emacs Lisp coders. They don't like that, okay? Because Xah guy, this is a weird nut job. He don't conform to our tradition. He doesn't conform to the Emacs idioms, the GNU gospel. So a lot of people don't like me. Some of them will say, "Oh, this guy don't know how to code." Anyway, after 5 years with sigils, I stopped it. Because I'm being very progressive. I use these Greek characters, but the fact is, in America, USA, English-speaking countries, this is just too weird. People cannot accept it. I mean, my readers, some people see my code, they see this and they'll say, okay, what is that? They get confused. Then you have to explain. You get a lot of questions. Why are you using that? Then I have to explain. But when I explain, I have to go. I just explain for 20 minutes about all these. The static analyzing. Too much explanation to do. Then, of course, most of them speak English. There's a problem with English-only language speakers, because when you use a character that's not ASCII, they go nuts. They go nutty because they just not used to it. On the other hand, Japanese people, Chinese people, you have 1 billion coders, there. Well, not 1 billion, but anyway, other language and basically other languages, they have no problem with sigils, with Greek characters, because in Chinese and Japanese, every character, you have 10,000 characters you have to type, but with the English, mostly American audience, this is just too weird. I have a lot, I have to answer a lot of questions and stuff. So eventually, I decided stop using the Greek characters for sigil. Then there's a question which ASCII character I want to use. If you use ASCII characters for sigil, then there's another set of problems, because, for example, right now I'm using $sign. Then people will have a question, oh, is that part of emacs Lisp? Because, for example, in Perl, in PHP, in Ruby, they all use $sign, as a convention. So then when people new to emacs Lisp, they'll think, okay, you have to use $sign, which is not true. There's still explanation to do, right? Yeah, but so it's a question, so are you gonna use sigil or not? So right now I'm still using sigils because I think it's a good thing. But anyway, that's a digression about sigils, which is very interesting topic, by the way. So I think that's it for today. So I think that's it for today. So let's see, any other questions I didn't answer. I've been talking for 1 hour and 10 minutes. Okay, so let me answer the questions, and that'll be it for today. Got a problem with the ANSI term. When running some bash programs, it doesn't fit screen correctly. Yeah. Snake case for variable and function names. Okay, compilers guys love static analysis. Yes, Scott would know a lot about compilers. So I'm trying to learn more about compilers. So Scott says, like you, I was writing a lot more Perl 20 years ago, so I'm used to sigils. Yeah. Now that I write more C and C++, I'm not sure how sigils would be accepted by my peers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll flame you to death. Your code will not be accepted, and yeah, you'll have a hard time to explain your boss, your company, what's sigil doing in C or C++. So convention and tradition, they have a huge force on how things will go. Yeah. So Torre says I use sigils in C++. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for today. Okay, thank you guys for coming. If you are new, if you like my stuff, buy my Emacs tutorial. Okay, buy my Emacs tutorial. Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.